Hello everyone, my name is Stephanie and through the power of video I'm acting as the best man today. However, as you may notice, I am indeed a woman. Apparently, rather than choosing a male friend to give the best man speech, Marc chose me, thinking that I wouldn't embarrass him and tell lots of dodgy stories about him. Well, what a mistake he's made there. So, I do have a few words to say on the bride and groom, but I really wish that I could have been there in person to tell them. Let me start by telling you that I've known Marc for about 14 years, and I'm sure that most of you will not be surprised to learn that my first encounter with Marc was finding him drunk and unconscious on my couch one morning after a big night out with my then boyfriend. Marc was wearing nothing but Doc Martens and some alarmingly revealing boxer shorts. He was surrounded by empty beer cans, and when he woke up, the first words he said to me, or slurred to me, were, "Could I pass him another beer?" So, as you can see, today isn't just a celebration of Marc and Sam's marriage, it's also a celebration of Sam saving Marc from that sort of existence. Now, as I got to know Marc, I discovered lots of things about him. One was that he loved riding his motorbike and insisted that he only had it because it helped him to pick up chicks. I'm sure he's already told Sam all about his wild biking days, and if not, I'm sure he'll be telling her about them right after my speech. But something else I noticed about Marc was that he was a very loud person who was never wrong. Throughout my speech today, I'm sure Marc will be pointing at the screen, shouting, "Wrong!" and trying to tell people his version of events. I can assure you that everything I say is 100% true. So, whoever has the remote control, please be ready to start turning the volume up as my speech goes on. Marc has had many jobs in his lifetime, one being a barman, and a very good one at that. Marc was always very popular with the customers, and if they were buying a round of drinks and he was serving them, they were always paying extra for him to have a drink too. They never knew it, but they were. Marc has also worked as a temp in credit control. During his time there, Marc boasted to all the staff that he was an actor and a male model, and then shortly thereafter he marched into the director's office and told her that he could do her job too. He was swiftly escorted off the premises, and that was the end of his career in credit control. When Marc didn't know what to do with himself in England, he set up his own recruitment agency, telling other people what to do. Marc had a fantastic time in Nottingham, and he made loads of great friends. Now, I still live here in Nottingham, and it seems that everyone knows who Marc is, or has at least heard a story about him, including the local police. But that's another story. Outside of work, Marc has a few interests to fill his spare time, including reading dodgy men's magazines, although he assures me that he only buys them to read the articles. As you may know, Marc has also been a radio presenter. Here in the UK, he had his own show at Hospital Radio, and even invited me to join it as his co-host. We had a great time playing music for the hospital patients, such as "The first cut is the deepest," and "Nothing's gonna change my love for you." Yeah, I think that was the last time I let Marc choose the music for our show. Aside from these things, Marc just loves sports and the outdoors. He loves to go camping, loves going to music festivals, having barbecues, and a long time ago he used to do lots of surfing. I remember Marc telling me that he loved surfing because it was risky, daring, and very unpredictable. And Marc isn't alone in his liking in these things. Sam also likes to do things that are risky, daring, and unpredictable, which clearly explains her decision to marry Marc. But talking of Sam, let me now move on to the moment when Marc and Sam met, because obviously that was the start of something wonderful, and that's why we're here today. Now, for those who don't know the story, Mark and Sam first met many years ago when they worked together in a pub here in Nottingham. Mark fell instantly in love with Sam. Then, as the weeks went on, Mark started telling Sam that she was very attractive, that he couldn't stop thinking about her, and that she should let him take her out to show her a good time. Now, this could have gone one of two ways. It could have been the start of a beautiful relationship, or it could have been the start of a sexual harassment case. Luckily, it was the first. Anyway, Sam played hard to get for a while, then finally gave in to Mark's advances, and they ended up getting to know each other on the bonnet of a car. But as soon as I saw them together, I could just tell that they'd make a great couple. I could tell this because Sam was very outgoing and a bubbly person, very attractive, had a great personality, and was a wonderful person to be with. And because Mark, he just would have been single otherwise. Mark and Sam really do make the perfect couple, for so many reasons. Sam has a huge back catalogue of knowledge of the very worst 80s music ever, which fits very well with Mark, because he's frighteningly attached to a certain wig which he owns that is the very worst 80s mullet wig ever. Now, I don't know if 80s songs are playing a part in today's celebrations, but I sure hope Mark's mullet wig isn't. Now, aside from their love of the 80s, another way I thought that Sam and Mark were matched was through their dancing. They both have the best dance moves. You may know Sam's famous towel dance and jazz hands, and Mark's raver and breakdancing moves. Everyone's going to be in for a real treat when it's time for the first dance later. Now Mark and Sam have emigrated to Australia to start a new life, to escape the grey skies of England and a life of constant boozing. Now they enjoy clear blue skies, but I hear the booze follow to them. Sam was recently bestowed the title of a bogan mum after a drunken episode which left Arwen a bit sticky and Sam face down in the carpet. And for those of you that don't know, the usually kind-natured Sam has a darker side. Known as Evil Samantha, she emerges late at night after heavy boozing, sporting a wicked smile and all too often concealing sharp weapons. Mark, too, has another personality named Sobvius, a Greek god of the gay variety. Mark discovered his alter ego in Omar's kebab shop after declaring repeatedly that something was so obvious, but in his inebriated state slurred the words, creating Sobvius. Mark has proceeded to play the part of Sobvius on a number of occasions, and many would agree that he is a little too convincing in his mincing. But with Mark and Sam being so perfectly matched, it's wonderful to be able to celebrate their marriage today. Guys, I'll be having a glass or two for you this evening, although technically it's breakfast time here in the UK, so I'll just have to have wine for breakfast. Mark, I'm sure you can appreciate that. Well, it's time for me to leave you now, and I'll end by saying that it's an honour to give this speech as Mark's best man today. I hope my speech hasn't been too embarrassing for Mark, although I'm sure he'd agree in saying that it could have been much, much worse. For example, I could have talked about the time that he got up in the middle of the night after a heavy drinking session and accidentally urinated on Sam. I could have mentioned that, but thankfully I didn't. Instead, let me say that Mark has always been there for me when I've needed him. He was there to help me when I moved over to the UK. He's been there when I've had problems at work. He's been there when I've had relationship problems. He's been there when everything else has gone wrong in my life. Actually, I think the bloke has jinxed me. Oh, God. But seriously, Sam, you are truly Mark's greatest love and his greatest asset. You, Finn, and Arwen have helped Mark to become the very best version of himself, and we love you for it. Mark, you are the best laugh and the best mate, and I'm so happy that you've found Sam. You are perfect for each other, and we wish you the very best of health and happiness in your new life as husband and wife. So, ladies and gentlemen, if I could ask you to stand and raise your glasses to the new Mr. and Mrs. Hughes, to Mark and Sam. To Mark and Sam. Thank you. Bye.